Welcome to South Texas Now, featuring attorney Joe A. Flores from the Flores Law Firm. He grew up right here in the Coastal Bend and became a physician's assistant, fell in love with the law, and became a lawyer. Each broadcast of South Texas Now brings you unique interviews with some of the voices that make a difference right here in South Texas. Now please enjoy this episode of South Texas Now.
And welcome to another edition of South Texas Now. We are proud to be here, not only in South Texas, but reaching people around the world. Bienvenidos a mis amigos que hablan español también, y bienvenido, meus amigos que falam português. Bienvenido a mes amis qui parlent le français. So we do it all over the world, tout le monde. So here we are, and I am very proud to bring on our very first guest. And it's someone that many of you all know, hopefully not at 3 in the morning at jail, but she has been a great prosecutor, a great litigator, and a great judge. Judge Melissa Madrigal, welcome.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Well, it's an honor to have you on. I know that we have covered other issues in the past on some other shows that I've done. But let's talk about your education, your training, your background, where you grew up, and why you went to law school.
Well, I went to law school. Well, first, I was born and raised here in Corpus, and I decided when I graduated from Texas A&M Corpus Christi to proceed to South Texas College of Law. Right? I guess that's your alma mater as well.
You betcha.
One of the best training grounds for attorneys in Texas. And I decided because, growing up with Ray Madrigal, you learned a lot about injustices, right? He was always talking about injustices. And so you get that sense of, I want justice. So I decided to go to law school. When I went to law school, on my third year, I started practicing in the Harris County District Courts with my third-year bar card. I worked for Harris County District Attorney's Office, and my supervising attorney said, "Get your third-year bar card and let's go."
Welcome to the NFL.
Welcome to the NFL. I'll never forget my first case in front of the Honorable John Montgomery, who was feared, but he was a teaching judge, and you learned. You learned respect, you learned punctuality, and you learned to be prepared. So I love that, and that's when I graduated. I came back. My mom needed me to come back to Corpus. I came back and started working for the Honorable Carl Lewis at the County Attorney's Office. The next year it switched over, and then I was working for Carlos Valdez. And I did so for about 5 years.
And then you took the bench.
I took the bench, and I loved it. I love the ability to help, right? A lot of judges don't have that that ability as much as I worked at municipal court. People needed their licenses back. They needed to resolve their citations, and I was very fair. You take care of your cases, you enter a payment plan, and I'll give you back your license so you stop being arrested for driving without a license. And they would do it. They would comply. They would pay their citations, and everything was good. And then I got offered the Nueces County Magistrate Court judge, which I love now. Okay, somebody gets arrested. Let's say when we're talking, I magistrate them. They didn't get notice of their hearing. They're held without a bond. I get my staff to research. Sure enough, there was returned mail. So I'm going to reinstate your bond. I'm going to give you a court date. I'm going to release you. Things that you can do to help. Okay, just to help the process continue. Right, and it's important. It's important to listen. It's important to make good decisions. Not every case is like that. I had I was just on a Reddit show when I explained. It was heartbreaking today because I magistrated a 17-year-old man, young boy. I still think they're boys at 17, for murder, right? And it's kind of heartbreaking. I don't know all the facts. You may have done something to your life that you can't ever take back. And you see the fear in their eyes. Some people don't understand that people, when they appear in jail, sometimes they have fear in their eyes. They don't know what's going to happen next. But it was there. And whatever happens to him, that's for the judge and the jury to decide.
Well, I think we're done. This has been, no, just kidding. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching South Texas Now with the Honorable Melissa Madrigal. I wanted to share with everybody out there that I practiced as a baby lawyer. I finished a few years behind her, even though I'm a little bit older than her. I went back to school. I was a nurse practitioner, and I went to South Texas College of Law, #1 advocacy and trial training program in the nation. And we're talking including Harvard and Yale, and we can back those figures up. And I was proud to be participating in the mock trials and helping out and writing appellate briefs and things. But there were the few of among us, especially with T. Gerald Treese, who led us to victories. And those people that were on the real mock trial, the varsity team, my hat's off to them now and in the past. And in our approaching our 100th year as a school. And we're the oldest law school in Texas, Houston, Texas. But let's dive in here. You were talking about arraigning people, setting the bonds, everything. Now, a lot of people have come up to me and said, Joe, the governor, the legislature, in their infinite wisdom, has made it harder on some cases to issue a bond. Can you educate people on that? Because there's a lot of misinformation.
What it is they made it harder to do a PR bond, okay? Because you can take into consideration a person's background, the offense, whether it's against person or property, their history, and the likelihood to commit a new offense. Right?
What is a PR bond?
A personal recognizance bond. It's where I believe that you signing your name to a document saying, I will return for court. It's a personal recognizance bond. You're signing on your good name that you're going to return back to court.
What factors? Because without a bond, people say, wait a minute, he doesn't even have to pay and he's going to get out or she's going to get out. What factors do you look at?
Well, we look at their criminal history. That's the most important thing. Whether the crime was against a person or property, whether their history shows a lot of violent cases. Let's say it's a person that's arrested for a felon in possession of a firearm. Then you're not going to get a bond. Not a PR bond. You're going to get a bond set because the Constitution says you're entitled to a bond, but you're not going to get a PR bond, right? Because there's a potential danger there. You take that all into consideration in offering a PR bond. Misdemeanors, possession of marijuana, 17-year-old kid, never been in trouble before, PR bond, right?
Let me ask you this. Also, some of the media, and I, even now as part of the media, I listen and believe about half of what I'm hearing. Of course, it's subject to interpretation.
Yes.
There was almost the way I read the bill, a punitive sort of thing if the judge makes the wrong choice.
It is kind of punitive. I found it that you take a lot of discretion away from the judge. In the Oasis County, we have risk assessors, right? They take every felony that comes into the jail. They do an assessment, right? They talk to the person. No, they don't talk to the person. It's just a paper assessment. So there's no other things that come into play, whether the person liked them, they didn't like them, whether they're this or that. All it is it's an assessment, and they make a decision whether it's a high risk, low risk, or moderate. And then we get the files and we look at it, look at the risk assessment, and make a decision. Okay, the most important thing is, one, is it safe to release them back into the public? Two, are they going to return for court? If you have, a bunch of FTAs, you might not be returning back to court.
Failure to appear.
Failure to appear. So we take all that into account. But the new bill, it does make it very difficult for people. It does. I think it set back the movement to release more and let people stay out, prepare for their trial, and then come back to court.
The other things that you're having to face, isn't it true that COVID-19, the physical barriers, you can't exactly have somebody approach you 3 feet from the bench and say, Judge, please give me a chance with a personal recognizance bond.
That has happened.
And your risk assessors, they're not exactly going to be 2 feet away and talking with this young man or woman or this repeat offender. So how are they doing it? Are you doing the arraignments by television or by video?
The magistration that I do in person, because I think it's important. My bench has a barrier. They have masks. I have the ability to wear my mask as well, just to make sure everybody's protected. But you understand they're coming from a holding cell where there's sometimes 20, 30 people, right? So there's a lot of interaction. But we do our best to limit the amount of people in there just for their own protection. And I have my barrier. My bailiff has his mask, just to try to keep people safe. A while back, when the numbers were really high, it was scary. It was scary because my entire staff got it, the risk assessors got it, and those people dealing with COVID throughout the jail. So we had to take precautions and try to keep everybody safe. Yes, they're there for an accusation of a crime, but we still have a duty to keep them safe.
Well, it's a tough job. I know all the judges out there right now are having to face that. And as an advocate, what bothers me is the emotional expressions. You're basically wearing a mask and you can't see the person's sincerity. You can't see the person's... it's a communication barrier.
It is. It is. I mean, we just went through a forum where they were asked, what is your... how do you think Zoom is going to play a role in your court? It's going to play an important role.
Well, we've got a couple of minutes left, and I hate to say the P word, but we're going to talk about politics. I understand that you are running. You are a sitting judge. So how has that played in effect? You of course, can't be campaigning.
Nope, absolutely not.
This is our lunch hour, and after 5. So it's hard to campaign, so I wanted to give you this opportunity.
It is difficult, but you have to maneuver. I took some time off. I was on the campaign trail all week, outside of the early voting locations, meeting people. I've been here my entire life. I have 20 years as an attorney and judge. And there's a lot of people that remember me, and they're like, hey, I voted for you because, remember on this case you did? I was like, oh, okay, thank you, A lot of CPS. That I did, and they were old CPS workers. But it is difficult, but you got to make it work. Absolutely no campaigning in at work. That's the correct role to have. But I do, when I'm off, I go to the poll locations, my hands putting up signs, and really just meeting a lot of people.
Knocking on 180,000 plus voters' doors. Why should they vote for you in 10 seconds?
And they should vote for me because I have the experience. I have the judicial temperament. I'm a proven record. There's nothing that you don't know as me as a judge. I'm fair. I'm there. I work hard. I work weekends. I work holidays right now. And I keep my doors open. I believe that we are there as public servants to facilitate and to make things better.
Well said, and we're out of time.
You've been watching South Texas Now, featuring Joe A. Flores from the Flores Law Firm. For questions and comments, please call 361-887-8670 or visit floreslawfirm.com.